Good morning and welcome to BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information. We have a slightly different episode today, but nonetheless a relevant one. Since I've been Director General here at BIFA, one of the frequently asked questions I get is, how is Bob Keane? Well, Bob is up for retirement, and I thought it'd be great if we just spent a few minutes chatting to him about his life here at BIFA and his work within the industry. So, Bob, welcome to BIFA TV.
Morning, Steve. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how you started in this wonderful industry of ours.
Well, I guess I went to a grammar school, and it was assumed you go to university. But in my last year, I didn't really try, and I found myself leaving school at 18 with nothing to do particularly. Um, Lived right next to a big airport, so thought that might be the place to go. But my first couple of interviews didn't get very far, so I worked on a construction site for a couple of months, and it was great because everybody got big money. Everybody got the same wage, whether you were 16 or 60. And so, whilst other people were getting £10 a week, I was getting £45 a week. And I thought, this is good.
Wow, yeah.
But my mother kept nagging me to get an office job. And I realised that health and safety wasn't really an issue in those days as it is today. And there were people with fingers missing and one eye gone. I thought, probably get out of this, and went to the airport employment exchange. And I had a job for somebody walking around the airport. So I did it. Walked to customs, walked to the airlines, walked all around the agents' buildings.
So who was your first job with?
Airport Courier
Remember
Services.
them?
Yeah. Founded by an ex-Pan Am guy called Bertie Coxall. And there were other courier agencies sprung up after it, but he was an innovator.
And then what did you do before you came to BIFA? So there's the time when you started till BIFA.
Well, yeah, you as a courier or messenger, you'd sort of pop into loads of offices, and it wasn't long before a firm called FTS, Film Transport Specialists, sort of said, "Do you want a job?" I said, "Oh, okay," and popped in there. And then it was just a question of bumping into people who say, "Oh, you available? We got a job going," and went from forwarder to forwarder. Until 1997. That's when I sort of switched over away from being a forwarder into representation.
So talk a bit about forwarder, because the first time I remember chatting to you was when you were at what was probably Burlington at the time, and we were talking about. Remind me.
Well, it was changing customs regulations.
That's
when
right.
You tripped over it, and you phoned me as your counterpart in another forwarder.
Yeah.
And between us, we cracked out what we had to do about it.
Yeah.
And that was actually the first time I actually got in touch with BIFA, because I phoned previous Director General here and asked what's going on, and he helped us.
Brilliant. Yeah. And then you started to work at ASM first.
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah. Strange sort of. As I say, most of my jobs I didn't apply for. I just bumped into people. But I was sitting with our air freight director, and in those days, you sort of social media and all of that stuff. It was an airport newspaper called Skyport where people went for jobs, and he had the paper open on his desk, and he said, "Oh, it's a good job here for someone." Oh, reading it upside down as a skill you pick up.
Yeah.
And he said, "This is a great job. Whoever gets this job could end up doing this and doing that." And he was absolutely right. I thought, "Oh, I could do that," and put in for it. Had an interview. I said, "You got the job? How much?" "Oh, no, thanks. I don't want it." And, by then, my director had heard that through the grapevine that I'd gone through. He called me and said, "What's up with that job? Don't you want it?" I said, "No, it's not enough money."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, don't be stupid. Just tell them what you want, and
Right.
it's up to them." I said, "Oh, never thought of that."
Ah.
And I did. And I didn't bump it up. I just worked out what I was worth at the time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I thought, "Oh, God, I've got to leave."
Yeah.
And it was a good move. Went to ASM for a couple of years, and by then I was working for BIFA part-time.
Yeah.
They were paying part of my salary.
Yeah.
I just gradually transferred over here.
I remember some of those days when BIFA and ASM shared some costs for some staff. I sort of remember that happening.
Yeah.
So then how did you transition from ASM into BIFA?
Well, I was doing the air freight representation for BIFA.
Yes.
say they were paying 20% of my salary, and then the director general at BIFA left, and Colin Beaumont took over,
Mm.
and he then wanted me to cover one of his aspects, which was customs.
Yes.
So they upped it to 40% of my salary. And then the general manager was going to retire, so he said, "We'll have you over here full time if you
Oh,
like."
okay.
And I said, "Yeah, okay."
So the transfer from ASM to BIFA was quite a natural, quite an easy thing to do,
Yeah,
really.
it was okay. I don't think the chap we both used to work for, Tom White, was over
Yeah.
impressed with it,
Yeah.
but wish me well.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Ah. And then when you first started here at BIFA, I remember the time at the Customs Policy Group. I was on a lot of that
Mm.
myself. So was that your first role here?
No, first role was air, which
Right.
was
Yeah.
pretty strange because although I'd been in air freight all my time, I didn't have a clue about some of the aspects that
Yeah.
representation.
Yeah.
So that was quite a hard learning curve.
Yeah.
But by then I'd sort of attended the customs group, and customs
Yeah.
was a more natural skill for me. So
Ah.
another guy came in to do air, and I did the customs and general manager of the
So
place.
when you came to BIFA, you have a story about when you were interviewed. Share some of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was in this building. It was upstairs, and they had a long room that I used for presentation. Loads of chairs stacked up, and I sat through the interview, and it was quite strange. Again, coincidence. Two of the three people interviewing me I'd known for years, and it was almost like a friendly chat. But I had my foot folded underneath me while I was sitting there. At the end of the interview, stood up, crashed into the chairs, knocked a few over, and fell on the floor face first. And
You're
thought,
still doing that, Bob, aren't you?
I was amazed when they
Yeah.
phoned up and said, "Yes, would you like the job?"
Brilliant. Good.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit to becoming
Mm.
DG. You did a number of great years here.
Yeah.
How did that come about? And
Well,
and maybe what's your highlight of that period?
Well, difficult. I should have thought of that before I came now. I can't think of a particular highlight. I just sort of ended up going from area to area and get given more jobs as I moved around.
Yeah.
I think the best thing was when Colin retired. Um, there was a bit of a hiccup because we employed a guy who didn't work out, and then they brought in a fellow called Peter Quantrill as a
Yes.
safe pair of hands,
Yes.
and he was great. He didn't do a lot. Anything that hit his desk hit mine about a minute later. So it was a good apprenticeship. You know,
Yeah.
when I worked under Peter for about 7 years, but when he retired, it was just a natural step because
progression.
he groomed me so well to
Good for Peter.
do
Eh?
stuff. Yeah.
And what does retirement mean, Bob?
Still getting the grips with it. I've been semi-retired now for a while. I don't know where the day goes. You hear people say they don't know how they went to work before they retired, and fortunately, that's the same for me. As you know, I've got my daughter and her family live in the house next door, so plenty of family responsibilities.
Yeah.
Not got to grips with anything in the way of hobbies particularly or anything, but I seem to coast through the days.
Yeah. Well, Bob, let me just say, you're welcome here at any time. Pop in and see us. There's always a cup of coffee for you here at BIFA. Hopefully you found this episode interesting. This was your daily dose of industry information from BIFA TV.